Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace to the gods. Hatep Yazar, Rahubat Yazar. I just wanted to break down my understanding of the situation of the descendants of the slaves of the Atlantic slave trade, and furthermore maybe even touch on the sub-Saharan slave trade. But what you have to realize is I ain't gonna use any sources or references beyond what I know to be the case. So the first element was that the Europeans had to establish a new racial hierarchy. And in that new racial hierarchy, the black man or the black people were seen only as 3/5 human, I believe. And that we were an unevolved race that had no rational thought system or authentic belief. You see, it just goes to show how hatred and misunderstanding can bring about terrible results. You know what I mean? Because you see, when you look at Egypt, Kemet, and how the pyramids of Giza stand eternally, how can you turn around and deny the people of that heritage as being superior in mathematics, in architecture, in astronomy? You know what I mean? It's like it's a blatant denial of what is the real aspect, because Egypt is the mother civilization of Nubia, right? Or what you would call Africa. You know what I mean? And furthermore, when it comes to the sub-Saharan slave trade, you have to remember that before the sub-Saharan slave trade even, there was the campaigns of Egypt into Asia. I can't stress that enough, because you see, in my heart, I am black man from Asia, you see. But if I say that I'm Asiatic, someone argue me and say, well, if you're Asiatic, then that means you're Dravidian. I'm not Dravidian. I'm not at all. But when I say black man from Asia, I mean the black man that basically traveled to Asia from Africa. I'm not denying that Africa is the origin and the original root, but Asia was the apex of the philosophical systems in which we used as Kemetans. It was Mesopotamia that took the knowledge of Natiru, you know what I mean? Those from Path of Hap Ur, right? Where the head of Osiris was buried, you know? And that's like saying, well, the Godhead is found in Abydos. Abydos is a city in ancient Kemet, you know? But like I'm saying, you know, the hatred was blatant, you know? People don't really believe in the racial hierarchy nowadays because we got science telling us that the whole race card is fraudulent and that as human beings, we are not different races, we are different variations, which I believe is pretty accurate because even amongst black people, not all black people are the same tone of color. You know, not all black people have the same nappiness of hair. You know, whether they're half, 3/4, or full doesn't really matter. The point is that we within our own gene pool of what is African or black or Asiatic black or Nubian or more, we all vary within 7 hues. Those 7 hues are the colors of the rainbow. Roy G. Biv, you know? And we reflect that because a rainbow is only the manifestation of the sun off the atmosphere's ions and whatnot, you know? If I'm correct, I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure. I'll tell you the truth, I'm not sure how the rainbow really works. But all I'm saying is that the Rainbow Project that Malachi Z. York, Said Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi talked about, you know what I mean, was twofold. The first was the creation of Lulu Amilu, son of man and mankind, or Lulu Amilu, mankind, and son of man, Cadmonite. You know? But furthermore, on the level, you know what I mean? Like when I think about the cipher, you know, a lot of black people, especially the young youth, you know what I mean, like to present the case as if we still have no chance of really making it pop, you know, really making it happen and doing for ourselves and making it. We can't use the excuse of ignorance anymore because we know where we come from. The information is openly there. Look how many leaders came and gave us bits and pieces of our history and our identity and who we are and who we were and what we should be. You know what I mean? Whether that's Marcus Garvey, whether that's Haile Selassie, whether that's Emmanuel I, you know what I mean? Whether that's Bob Marley, you know what I mean? Prophet Marley, you know what I mean? Whether that's Malcolm X or Clarence 13X or Farad Muhammad or Shaikh Dawood, you know what I mean? Or Elijah Muhammad, you know what I mean? It's all there for you, you know? And a lot of black people like to ignore the facts, you know, they like to say, oh, we don't have a chance, and it's up to you now to remain a slave, if you wish to remain a slave. But if you don't wish to remain a slave, and you believe that in your cipher you can be what we would call true and living God, an I God culture. If you want to be true and living God in your cipher, then that means you need to study knowledge of self in kind. Knowledge of self begins with the emotions. You got to put your emotions in check. You see what I'm saying? You need to analyze what you're thinking and why you're thinking it and how you're thinking it and how come you always relay the same sort of mental messages to yourself and figure out why that is. You know, I'll give you an example of what I mean on the element of knowledge of self. Because you see, a lot of people think knowledge of self is actually the study of knowledge of kind, right? So they go, well, you know what? I'll find me in the teachings of the 24 scientists. You're not one of the 24 scientists. Yes, it's good to know that there's the 24 scientists who are in the circle of El Ur, or Elohim, in the council of Yahweh. Alright, I'm not denying that. But how are you going to apply their logic and that information to yourself? You see, you can't, because it has nothing to do with you. You see what I'm saying? It has to do with those who are appointed over you. So you know that now, right? So when we say, okay, knowledge of self, right? Knowledge of self is getting internal, coming from without to that which is within. Knowledge of self is knowing how you think. Knowledge of self is knowing how you feel. Knowledge of self is knowing why you feel the way you feel. You see, that's the thing. You know what I mean? Because in the example that I'm trying to give, what I'm saying is knowledge of self is the cipher of knowing why things go through your mind the way they do and how they do. You see what I'm saying? So that's the first step. And I mean, everybody can do that. If you were still a slave, you know what I'm saying? If you were still a slave in the same particular instance of our ancestors, blessed be they who passed away under that hardship, you could still practice knowledge of self, because you can know who you are. So not who you are, but why you think the way you think. That's the big key to knowledge of self. Knowledge of kind now comes into play when you're bringing information and history and culture to yourself. You know what I'm saying? My culture, you see what I'm saying, is multi-layered, you know, because it's like I said, you know, I brought up before Bob Marley, you know what I mean, the Prophet Marley, Emmanuel I, Haile Selassie I, Marcus Garvey, you know, men like that, you know what I mean, and then that's on the Rastafarian element. Then on the Islamic element, I got Dus Ali, I got Noble Drew Ali, I got Farad Muhammad, I got Sheikh Dawood, I got Elijah Muhammad, I got Malcolm X, I got Clarence 13X, and I got Asayid Isa Al-Hadi Al-Mahdi. You see what I'm saying? And then we have the ancients. You know what I'm saying? We got Buddha, you know what I mean, alayhi wassalam. We got Isa bin Maryam, alayhi wassalam. We have Muhammad bin Abdullah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We got Musa, alayhi wasallam. And then we got Nuh, alayhi wasallam. You see what I'm saying? And all of those are a part of the Asiatic history. And some of them even came to Egypt or were in Egypt. You see what I'm saying? So, in reality, you know what I'm saying, it's like the greatest of prophets, you know what I mean, can be associated with Egypt, you know. And with that line open, a lot of people like to say, oh, you know, well, Egypt was this and Egypt was that. You know, well, let me tell you something. Egypt had 46 dynasties. You see what I'm saying? 46 dynasties. And these different dynasties of different pharaohs had different belief systems. Some of them coincided with the belief of Islam, and some of them rejected Islam. But who's to say that every dynasty of Egypt was against the notion of one singular deity? Because in Egypt you have the prototype of all monotheistic religion. But like I'm saying, you know what I mean? I'm getting off topic because that wasn't even really the point that I was trying to break down. The point that I'm trying to break down is we as a black people no longer have the excuse of saying, oh, you took away the knowledge of our forefathers and we don't know it. We have the ability to now learn the ways of the forefathers. Many teachers have come to us and they have filled in the blanks. So I have no trouble or no complication in finding my roots. I know what my roots are. I know where I come from. I know what I'm doing. That's the main element. I know what I'm doing. A lot of black people don't know what they're doing. A lot of people in general don't know what they're doing. Not just black people, but black people specifically in the cipher, because that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Therefore, in that level, one has to understand one thing. Get knowledge of self. That's all I can push on you, is realize why you think the way you think. You know what I mean? It could be that you're using a European system of thought. It could be that you're using a Arab way of thought. It could be that you're using a Chinese way of thought, and that's not working for you. But who's to say that a European way of thinking won't help a black man? We can't say that. That would be saying what they say, which is, oh, they're inferior. No, you need to find what system works for you the best, in which you fit into, and which makes you feel comfortable, and lets you know who you are. And as long as you know who you are, you're all right. You know what I mean? So I'm going to end it off like that, and break it down with Siratal Ur, and y'all farewell, and keep Keep to the path of the rectitude, you know. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal azr innar insana rafi khusr illa radina amanu wa amilu sarihati wa tawassul bil haqi wa tawassul bis sabr.